Hi, everyone. I'm Dan Delatorre. Welcome to Comic Book Corner. Thanks for joining us this evening. I have some sad news in the comic industry. Sad for me and sad for this one gentleman who ran the company, and that is EGS Grading. EGS Grading was a small grading company for comic books, and he started, I think, about 7 years ago. And I had been collecting for the longest time, and I, like many of us, liked CGC. I love what they were doing, and I was a huge fan. I even joined their website to see what was going on and so forth. And I was so tempted to send comics to them, like everyone else was doing, because there was no problems at the time. Well, problems did start to creep up for that company after they were bought out by a company called Blackstone, not to be confused with BlackRock. Both are mega hedge fund companies. What that means is that they will seek out smaller companies, buy them, get as much money out of them as possible, and then either keep them if they're still profitable or dump them. That they're very aggressive. Blackstone has assets well over $1 trillion. BlackRock, which has nothing to do with the comic market, their hedge fund, their assets are well over $10 trillion. That's stunning. These are big boys at Wall Street. And Blackstone purchased the parent company of CGC, when was it, about 2021, I think it was. And that's when the problem started with CGC. And at the same time, I'm listening to a lot of comic shows. I listen to Spinetix, Journos, Comic Tom. People dump on Comic Tom. They shouldn't, because I like Comic Tom. He's his own entity. But it was Journos and the comic book canon, Jeff, who they used to be on Fridays. I guess Tony Trombetta reached out to him or whatever, and they had him on his show. And I was a religious watcher to these guys. And so Tony introduces himself and he says, I'm here to put myself out there with the grading company and so forth. And I liked what his presentation, we're roughly the same age, and he has an old school approach like I do, and that grabbed my attention. And then he says, well, give us a try. And I said, this is what grabbed me about him was that I'm going to open his first generation slab. When he first started his company, he didn't even have not label, his own slab. He was buying these things here. I'll show it to you. This is the old school label with the little tabs on the top here. These are these things anybody could buy. I think they're still available. It's a ready-made slab. You just put it together. Here's a little metal brackets. And what he did was added security tape on the sides so nobody could tamper with it. And I thought, what a gutsy move. Here he is, CGC and CBCS, and there's some smaller companies out there. PGX are still out there, and they're still there. And he's coming up with this, ready-made stuff and putting himself on the market. And I thought that was pretty courageous. But his claim to fame was the way he graded and this different colored label. And you could have fun with this label here. I mean, look how beautiful this is. The colors perfectly matching to the comic itself. This was a giveaway I got from journalists, by the way. And I thought, what a gutsy move. So I was ready, like I said, to send stuff to CGC. And I thought, I was nervous. Who wants to send all your expensive comics across the country? I'm here on the West Coast and you got to go to Florida. And I thought, and then as the problems continued to develop with CGC, I'm thinking, I don't want to send them to CGC. They've lost my trust. And again, knowing politics and knowing the market, when you have a hedge fund like that takes over, that's not good. They're trying to speed things up to get profitability. And they started my trust eroded very quickly. But I still wanted to have my comics graded. And I thought, let's give this guy a try. Let's give him a shot here. So I talked to Tony, and he kind of walked me through the whole process. And we talked for a few times before I finally agreed. Okay, he basically said, if you're going to do this, you have to take a leap of faith. And he was right. And I said, okay, you're it. I've never graded anything before. He was the first and only person I've ever used. And I thought, if I'm going to do this, let's jump in with both feet. I'm not going to send him, one cheapy little book and sort of put my toe in the water. I'm going to go all in and see what happens. And so I'm trying to find the other book here. maybe I can't find it. I sent him these two here. Actually, I sent more than two. I sent 6 altogether. So I sent Avengers 1, 2, and 3. Look how fun these are. I know you can't hear me if I'm behind the slab. Look how fun these are with the grade or the label that has color matched the Avengers 1. And again, it's not a cheap book I'm sending them. And I knew it was a restored grade because I bought it that way. I didn't care. But I was really happy with the slab. And I sent Avengers 2 with that yellow label. Look how fun that is here. And I'll find my Avengers 3 hopefully as I go through to the pile here. But I said, I'm going to do this. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this right. So these are not cheap books that I sent him. I was extremely happy with the result, bottom line. When I finally got these back, in fact, I did a video on this. It's one of my first videos. And I sent, I think, 5 phases all together. I've got, you can't see it, but to the left of me is a stack of my EGS books. There are 33 in total. 2 were giveaways, and I bought the rest of them at roughly $40 a pop. That's about $1,500 or so. So no one can accuse me of not supporting this group, supporting this company. And regarding support, I got a lot of ridicule from my friends for supporting this group. They kept saying, oh, it's not going to go anywhere. The value is going to go down, that kind of thing. All these guys who criticized me and ridiculed me, they're all flippers, which is nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong. If you want to sell comics and buy and sell them, nothing wrong with that at all. But keep in context, I'm not selling anything. I simply buy and I collect, and I just let them, my collection grows. But bottom line, I was happy. I was very happy with it. Let me show you some of these here, why I was so happy with it and how fun it was. I'm a big Defenders fan, so I sent this one, Defenders #1, first appearance of the series, rather. Look how fun the label is versus the color of the cover itself. I thought it was fun. It was gorgeous. And again, I'm satisfied with this. We had fun with this, and that's part of the whole point. When you collect, you're supposed to have fun with it. And again, if you want to buy and sell, that's your business. I don't buy and sell anything. I looked at the preservation of the comic here. Here's one that I really, really enjoyed. And by the way, I'm stunned that I got a 9.8 out of this. This is one of the few 9.8s I have from EGS. And it's this one here. The First Killing Joke. I got a 9.8, white pages. Look at the fun label we had with this. I had read this a few times, extremely carefully, obviously, but I still kept an eye on it where I still got a 9.8. It is a pretty book, and this is the first print. But this was fun to have the Joker on there. I'd seen this from another label. That I wanted on that particular book here. Let's see what else we have here. Let's get a few more. Oh, here's a good one. Again, we had fun with the labels, and the color this was my favorite here. This first appearance of Darkseid in Forever People #1. I got a 7.5 out of that year, but this blue graded variant was my favorite label, and that became my standard bearer moving forward as I continued submitting to EGS. And again, these cases, they're gorgeous. They're underrated. They really are underrated. Tony did a fabulous job with this. The sad thing is, like many companies, and again, being self-employed, all you can do is put yourself out there and hope for the best. And sadly, it came up short for him because the way it is today with grading companies, unless you have money, unless you have many millions of dollars, which PSA does, CGC certainly does. CBCS, I don't think did have that kind of money. They were since bought out by PSA. You have basically 2 companies to choose from. And as I've said countless times, if you rely upon one company and one company only for your goods and services, what happens when something goes wrong with that company? And we're kind of there right now. Something's gone very wrong with CGC. And for those that complain about it, it's going to fall on deaf ears. You made this choice. The market made this choice. You live with it. I will never send a graded comic to CGC. I don't trust them. I don't trust Blackstone. They're not just the mistakes that they've made and the scandals, and they've had lawsuits against them, which they've lost all of them. That should say a lot about that company. But if you can't trust them, why would you send them there? Their grading's all over the place. I have a I didn't bring it out, but I have a Journey to Mystery Annual #1. It's absolutely gorgeous white pages, and they only gave it a 5.5. Why it's a 5.5 should be a 7.5 or an 8. There's a little water stain in the back of it, and they knock off at least a couple of points. I saw one yesterday that CGC had graded a 6.5 white pages, and the spine splitting and there's problems with it, and mine looked like practically a 9.8 compared to what they gave at CGC. So you take your chances with that company. Their grading's all over the place. They got rid of their Silver Age graders, the ones from 1975 on back. That's for you, Sith, by the way. You just learned something. But why would they get rid of those experienced people? And you want to send a Silver or even Bronze Age comic there and expect expertise? No, they're hustling this stuff out. But that's the market. That's the market. So if you want to buy and sell, you're at their mercy. Whatever they say goes. And if you want to resubmit, if you have a problem, that's going to cost you money. That's going to cost you a lot of money. It's not my problem anymore. I never had to resubmit for Tony. I loved EGS. I love what he did. Here's the Avengers 3. And this was a genesis of my favorite label and the gradient that it had. So again, it was just fun. And again, the more I hold these, the more I realize just how beautiful these slabs are. Let's throw a couple more at you just to prove that, I didn't send cheap books to him. This is a book that I might have resubmitted this. I can't now because it's gone now. Hulk 102. This is a very, very expensive book. I'm not, I was a little iffy about the colors. We were making things up as we went, Tony and I. But now I'm thinking, God, this is nice. Look how nice it blends with the rest of the book here. And again, these are not cheap books. I went in with both feet here. So let's throw a few more at you here, and then we'll just end it, and I'll have some final words here. This is one of my favorites regarding the labels. And here is first appearance of Rama Tut, Fantastic Four #19. And I loved the little Fantastic Four logo that's right on the top here. That was fun. I love that. And again, Tony and I were getting better and better with what we were submitting here. But again, like I'm saying, these are high profile books, not cheap books. I can't say enough about how great the quality was from Tony. And again, I loved everything we did, and just sad that because I talked to him last week, the week before, and he's totally done, totally out of the market. So you can't contact him anymore. His supply of slabs is gone. He can't restart anymore. He'd have to buy a few thousand, and that costs thousands of dollars to get. There's no sense in doing that since he's done. First Wolverine, and look at that. We put that little X for the X-Men there with the first appearance of Wolverine. That's fun. And every time I touch this case, I'm just in love with these. These are now collector's items all by themselves because you can't get them anymore. Here's another 9.8 that I got. This is a modern comic. I didn't buy this. This was given to me, I think, by Journos. This is cool. A sketch variant Spawn cover. What is it? Spawn 297. But look at that. Todd McFarlane. I mean, there it is. And look how beautiful that is with the white label and the white cover and so forth. That's fun. That's really, really cool. Let's see a few more. Let's do this one, and then finally we'll end with this one here. I'll show the rest of them later in another video. But again, I'm just showing you this man won my trust. I'm the kind of person that, not that it's hard to trust, but I've been burned by people, companies, whatever, people that say, oh, we're going to do this for you. If I'd sent this stuff to CGC, I wouldn't have been happy because I wouldn't trust it. I don't trust the process anymore. If you want to use them, you're on your own. Again, you're dealing with big boys now. You're sending money to Blackstone. If you are one of those people that has a problem with companies that have too much power, too much money, and they certainly do, and they're one of many on Wall Street, that's on you. I ain't sending anything to CGC, simply not because of hate of the company, lack of trust. I've spent a fortune putting this together with my comic books. and to trust. It's like almost a family member. We have such love and passion for comics, and yeah, that's not too under. That's not unfair. We have this love and passion for them. Look at where the industry is, and I've spent thousands upon thousands, actually tens of thousands. Why would I send it to an entity that I don't trust? And I'm not going to. So this is it. I'll just keep my comics raw. So here's another one, Fantastic Four. Pardon me, ASM 41, First Rhino. Love this book. I love the character Rhino. He's underrated. He actually kind of became a hero in the modern age. I think they did a fine job with his development. You always want to see character development when you have comics and comic characters. So this is a great groundbreaking. Damn it, I had another one I was going to send to Tony. Lower grade. This is a 3.0. We probably would have got a 2.0 on the other one. And I guess I'll just end it here for now, and I'll make another video to show the whole collection. I'd rather show the whole collection because it's worth it. I've shown this in previous videos, but I'm delighted. This is one of my favorite characters, underrated. I'm just delighted to have his first appearance, and that is the Ghost Rider, Johnny Blaze. This was one of the first ones we sent, and we did the black and golden label to sort of coincide with the label of the Ghost Rider. So that's a cool book to have. I only paid like $300 for this, and this book took off. Oh God, you couldn't touch it for $1,500. It's come down, and I would, if there's a recommendation to get your hands on a first appearance, it's this one. I think the Ghost Rider down the road is going to be a huge character, bigger than he was when Nicolas Cage portrayed him in that movie, which actually was the first movie was actually pretty good. It was actually very good. People kind of dumped on it, but no, it was very good. I wasn't the biggest fan of Nicolas Cage, but he kind of won me over. But this, I've never owned this book before, but I have this one here, and this is never leaving. But till the next episode, when I show the rest of these here, I've got a huge pile to show you, and we can talk about the comic, talk about the grade itself, the grading and slabbing itself. I want to thank Tony Trombata. He did what nobody else did. He stood up to the establishment. He used his own time, his own money, his own livelihood that he put into this, and he rolled the dice, gave it his best, and went as far as he could. And now it's over. So all you can do is admire these. They're out there on eBay. There's a few that I'm looking at here. I might want to purchase because there's a collectability now because you can't get them anymore. But again, I wanted to thank him for what he did. I'm delighted with what I have here. I wish I had more, but it meant a lot to me, and I'm sorry to see him go. But all I can do is appreciate what I have here and say thanks and move on. And thank you, all of you, for joining. I appreciate it. Till the next time, I'm Dan Delatorre. Yes, I know who I am. And this is Comic Book Corner.